Hello, ladies and gents. This is Mike Headley on the Headley Group Real Estate Show. This is a podcast designed for real estate professionals who's thinking about getting a career in real estate or who's already been in the business. We'll learn some great tips and tricks from the professionals and the veterans. Continue to tune in. Hey, ladies and gents, how you doing? We are back with another great one. This is Mike Headley on the Headley Group Real Estate Show. Let me tell you something. Before I announce this brother right here, when I say experience, his face is going to be right next to the dictionary. With experience in terms of real estate brokerage, investments, in terms of rental property, flipping, renovation. His brokerage does property management, REOs, which is real estate owned properties, foreclosures, those who don't know. He specializes in commercial as well. Let's give a warm welcome to Mr. Darren Johnson with Johnson Premier Realty. How you doing, brother?
What's happening, man? I'm gonna clap with you, man.
You got to clap, man. You got to throw some enthusiasm.
I like that.
What's going on, man? So, I asked Darren, I said, listen, brother, we got to get you on the show, man. You got so much wisdom and insight that I think anybody getting into real estate or people who are seasoned, you might be able to pass on a good nugget or two. So we need to share that to the world. And before I let this brother go in, I want to say I met him at a conference 2009 or 10, around the time 9 or 10. Probably
I can't remember. Yeah. It's been a long time.
Been a long time. And I can say he always has been a basket and a wealth of insight and knowledge, tips and tricks that I can use in my real estate business and my brokerage. So I want to salute him for that. So, brother, without further ado, let the world know, man. Let the world know what made Darren get inside real estate. What spiked that interest?
What spiked the interest? As we discussed before when I first met you, you asked me that same question. So, real estate was not what I started out doing.
Okay.
I'm more of an entrepreneur. And I started out in the restaurant business. And at the time I had 8 Subway sandwich shops throughout the Detroit metropolitan area, right?
I don't think I remember that. Eight of them. Wow. Okay, brother.
Yeah, 8 stores. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I decided to take my profits and diversify it, So I got into buying real estate for passive income. Wasn't sure how I was going to attack that, but I did. And I had my cousin at the time was a real estate agent, so he was my agent, trying to keep it in the family. But I soon found out that because he was working a full-time job, he was doing real estate part-time. As you and I both know, and being a real estate broker or agent, there's no such thing as a part-time job.
If you want to be successful.
That's right. So at that point, I was realizing I was missing out on some good deals because he was working his job, getting to me late. So I took the exam. I said, I can do this. And I took the exam, popped it on the first pop. I got with a broker that was well-known in my area. She educated me more about the real estate industry. And she told me when I walked in, she said, I already know you're not going to stay with me. I say, well, we'll see what happens. Right?
Right. Okay.
It got so good to me. That I started selling homes. I became actually the #1 agent in her office.
Wow. How many brokers?
I'm sorry?
How many brokers did you have? How many did she have? How many agents, brokers?
At the time, she probably had about, I'm going to say 80.
80. Okay. Wow. You were #1.
In the
okay.
office.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But with anything, I owe that to just my networking ability and knowing a lot of people. Because once my sphere of influence found out, and my closest friends and family found out that I was selling real estate, they started coming to me, flocking to me. And once that happened, I started selling, homes to them and listing their homes. And that's how I got into it. And I was like, this is pretty good. I don't have to deal with these minimum wage workers no more at Subway.
Gotcha,
I can
exactly.
slowly back out of that. So what I did was I started selling my Subway sandwich shops because my investment portfolio got bigger. And I finally sold my last one in 2005, which was very profitable. That was hard to let go. And but I made good money selling them. I made a profit, of course, on each one. And I started my brokerage. I jumped into real estate, left her office, started my own brokerage out of my home. And at that time, the market started flipping in 2006 and 7, right in between that time. I said, you know what? I need to figure this thing out or it ain't gonna work. That's when I dived right into REO head first. Okay? That's how REOs helped and built me and made it where I can survive. And boy, did I survive. I mean, I did good. I'm still doing good. And I'm humble to it and I'm grateful, you know. And I try to teach people as much as I can because, you know, if it wasn't for other people, you know, I wouldn't be in the position I'm in. So that's one of the things I do. As you see, I got Malcolm over my head and Mr. Martin Luther King.
Gotcha. Okay.
In my office every day, I look at them because they put knowledge and skill and information in me.
That's right.
So once I got into the REO industry, networking and so forth, and getting these asset management companies and banks to use me as their real estate brokerage, I started having just an abundance of inventory.
Right? Let me interject here. So this way, a viewer who's listening, it's not like we're speaking German to them, or there's nothing wrong with speaking German. When you say get the asset managers, REO space, get them to use you, break it down simple form, please.
The banks. Well, you network. You fly out to the banks. You fly out to the asset management companies. You sell yourself. You resume yourself, and then you present yourself where they say, hey, I want this guy to help liquidate some of my assets. They start sending me assets. And my assets grew to where I was managing for multiple, maybe 50, 60 asset management company and banks in the amount of, on average per month, about 400 properties.
Wow. 400 properties.
Yeah, for about 400 properties. As my brokerage grew in that area, you know, of course, I started hiring staff, field people, an additional assistant here, an additional assistant there, more field people, you know what I mean? So we grew into this REO brokerage because that's where the market was at that time. And keep in mind, you know, I'm still that primary resident guy to go to and commercial guy to go to as well. But that wasn't what it was called for at the time. So in doing that, I had agents at this point. They say, hey, this guy got a lot of inventory over here. We can make some money helping him sell these inventories.
Gotcha.
And I woke up one morning out of the blue, and I will never forget that. I was laying in bed and I was like, I got 32 agents in my office. I wasn't prepared for that. What am I going to do with them? Then I said, you know what? Let me train them. Let's train them and let's start bringing in more agents, you know, into the brokerage and so forth. And let's see if we can make that work. And that's what I did. And then I branched out. Of course, I branched out to Houston, Dallas as a broker.
Okay.
And, you know, the rest is history. Here I am. The market has now flipped back into a residential market, but I see an REO market that's going to come back here shortly after this pandemic.
Okay, so I got to interject because, like I say, I want to unpack a lot of things you said because I don't want to dive too because again, there's something that beat me to the punch with some of the questions, some of the statements you just said. Let me back it up a little bit. When you shifted to the REO, managing 400 something properties. Brung on assistant to help you with the process. During them times, were there moments, but I think I know the answer, but was it a moment when you said, man, I need a break? I mean, the money is good, but damn, it's a little too much. Was it like, okay, just keep bringing them on? Or was it a little overwhelming?
I didn't say I needed a break. I said I needed more help.
Need more help. Got you. Okay.
Yeah. So I hired another assistant. At one point, I had 3 assistants and 8 field reps and 8 buyer agents.
Got you.
So once I got to that capacity, my assistants was pretty much running my REO department. I was overseeing everything, of course.
Okay.
You know, I had 2 BPO agents that just strictly did BPOs.
And what is a BPO? So the viewers can
broker price opinion.
Okay.
Where the broker would give you a price opinion on the market that the property is in. It's probably the next best thing to an appraisal.
Okay.
It's not an appraisal, but it'll give you a good value assessment.
So quick snapshot of your business with the REO, and again, we're going to segue to another question. 123 Main Street pops in your email. What does that look like? How does that flow go?
How does it go?
Yeah, in other words, here's an assignment, an asset, or how does that, a listing? What do you do with it?
First thing I do is I have to recognize it by letting the asset management company or asset manager know that I've received it.
Okay.
You know, by maybe click and receive or acknowledge I got it. I'm take this and move with it. And once I get that, at that point, we schedule a time to go out and assess the property. What I mean by assess the property, I mean go out to see if it's occupied, vacant, what condition it's in, get some exterior photos. If the property is vacant at that time, of course, depending on where you are, you want to, well, anytime you always want to walk around the house and make sure there's no open entries, because you got to keep safety in mind. When you're in the REO industry, safety is really, really important because it's distressed property.
Right.
And when you're dealing with distressed property, you're dealing with people under distress most of the time. And so, and that goes to being a good REO agent, you got to be able to handle people that's in distress by giving them respect and making them understand you're not here to fight with them. You're not against them. You're here to help them in the best way you can to whatever they need to get them through this situation. Once we do that, we report it back to the bank within 24 hours what's going on with that property.
Okay. And the reason why I asked you to give us that snapshot is, you get a broker who's getting into the business. What is REO? How does that process look? But now there's a lot of chunks in between there as far as getting the business, but I want you to give just a little general layout of how that works. Let me fast forward a little bit. Now we are in 2018 and 19, 20, and I don't want to speak for you, but when did you start to notice a decline in the REO? It's a two-part question here. And now, I don't know how much REOs you have now. I don't doubt you have 400 like you did before, but what does that look like in terms of traditional? Do traditional buyers or sellers want to work with you if you're considered the REO guy? Did you run into that gray area? Or they don't mind?
Yeah, I did. So when I saw the market changing to more traditional than REO, then at that point, everybody that knew me as the REO guy. And that's not the label I wanted. I didn't start with that label and I didn't want that label. You know what I mean? Everybody's calling you for distressed property. Well, that wasn't my passion. As a matter of fact, my passion is investing myself, doing my own investing. So, and helping people get into homes. So I had to actually renew myself, so to speak. So my REO business name was not original. My company name was not originally Johnson Premier Realty Company. We had a different name in the past, and we changed that name to Johnson Premier. We relabeled ourselves. To come from an REO company to a traditional real estate company.
Exactly.
And so it's been working that way. It's been working pretty good with that name change, new marketing material, and so on and so on.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, yeah, because I noticed other brokers, including myself, that you let people know, listen, I mean, I'm licensed. My license just don't say REO. Just because I took quite advantage of that time, which was a blessing, hey, we can shift and do other things as well. Right?
Exactly.
Let's fast forward. COVID-19 hit, which was a halt and a bump in the road for a lot of people's business. What did Darren do for his business, as well as what kind of encouragement or new training that you provided to your agents to deal with this, which was a rocky last year, which we're still in?
The joke is Darren sheltered in place.
We gotta live first, right?
Hey man, that's a monster out there, man.
Yes, it is.
That's for real.
Correct.
He's a monster, and he don't care what color, creed, or age, or who you are. He get a hold of you. You got to deal with him. So
exactly.
At the time when it hit, and my lease was up on my office space, and everybody was scrambling to start working from home and not being in the office. So I didn't renew my lease. I said, let me move my office back into my home, and let's expand my virtual and technology within my brokerage and go from there. So a lot of DocuSign, electronic signatures,
right.
A lot of Zoom calls, a lot of Zoom meetings, and so forth. It even got to a point where, I haven't been able to fly to my other office in Houston or Dallas because, that beast is sitting on that plane.
Waiting for people.
So I'm waiting crazy. Yeah, it's real. And so I don't know when I'm going to be able to do this to get back down to my office, but we've had to make major adjustments with my agents in those areas by just simply doing Zoom calls and electronic. And it's actually the adapting to this virtual and paperless system is actually pretty good. And I don't see myself going back to the old ways because it's freeing me up to do other things. Just simply, look at it. Look at you're in North Carolina. I'm in Detroit. We doing a call.
Correct.
So you do that with your agents and everything else you do. So I've been dealing with COVID in that capacity. The market over the past 6 to 9 months have been crazy because as well as when COVID hit, they lowered the interest rates to a record low and people trying to scramble from these high density areas, which is metropolitan areas, to more suburban areas to hide from this monster. And so the real estate boom hit in these months. So it's been crazy. And I've been dealing with buyers. I've been constantly dealing with buyers for the past 7, 8, 9 months. And it got so crazy here in Detroit where buyers were actually bidding $20,000 to $30,000 over asking price. You see what I'm saying? Whether they're appraised or not.
Right.
They were coming out with the additional cash to pay the difference of the appraisal. So it got a little crazy. It slowed up in November, into November. January is here. It's still a little slow, but it's going to pick back up in our spring. Of course, I'm waiting to see how that happens with this new administration going in and the things they're going to be doing. And that flips us back to the REO question, right? Where we stand with REO from that point forward? Well, we don't know yet.
Correct. And I'm glad you doing some great segues. I ain't have to change it, switch it up too much. You take me right home. New administration. You see, the moratoriums got pushed back, I think, until end of February, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So basically, people who are not familiar with moratoriums is you can't evict or foreclose on no one if they have an FHA or Freddie Mac loan, if I'm not mistaken. But I think if the property is vacant, then the bank still can take the property back if it's vacant, but if it's occupied, you
Right.
cannot put someone on the street due to CDC says COVID-19. That's a person to say I had a job loss, you can't get rid of me.
That's correct.
So the market, based off history, because they say history always tells the future, there's always a correction every 7, 9, 8, 10 years. What's your thoughts on that?
10 years.
10 years.
There's always
10
a
years.
correction around 10, 11, 12 years.
So before we dive into that, so evidently me and you got in the space because I got licensed 2007. And I had to just jump in right in front of the REO. That's what the market was. We seen the trend, jumped on ahead before it really became a tsunami. What do you tell brokers who've been in the business for 6 years, 5 years? They don't know really too much about REOs, or a broker getting into the business. What would you tell them to prepare for or look out for? What's your thoughts on that?
Run like hell. No.
I like that. We keep it real on the show, late. I love that.
Well,
Love
see,
that. Yeah.
Everyone cannot be an REO agent or broker. It's a different kind of beast, a different, it's you have to have this something about you to deal with REO. And that's because you would have had to grown with it when it first hit. Now, I was doing REO slightly before 07, just slightly. But when it hit, I grew with it and I changed with everything that was changing, from asset managers starting to use auctions to sell their property. We had to go through that. Our asset management company and banks playing with our commissions, using third parties, and so you have to prepare yourself to be able to deal with those things, because if you go from a 6% commission to a 5% commission or a 4.75% commission, you got to be able to roll with that, and you got to make a decision. Is it good for my company or not? And so now, coming towards the end of it, like right now, they use a lot of auctions still.
Correct.
Kind of like auction off their properties. I mean, you become their broker, you manage the property, but they put in an auction and they want to pay you 1%. So
insulting.
You have to, your staff changes, because you have to make sure that the compensation for doing REO is going to satisfy your overhead and your needs within your company. And that goes for doing BPOs, property inspections, and so on and so on. So it's a difficult challenge. I will say this: when you're managing a property, you're paying their bills, because you have to turn utilities on these properties. You have to get repairs done. You have to pay any kind of fines or any kind of code violations on these properties, and you have to get reimbursed. So another thing you have to do is you have to know that these companies are only going to reimburse you within 30 to 60, sometimes 90 days. So there's times, in REO where I'm floating $125,000.
Hold on.
My money.
Hold on. We gotta get that again. How much money was you floating?
$125,000 on average of my money, waiting for them to reimburse me. So if your team is not doing what you need them to do, one year I lost $8,000 because I had one of my team members, my billing department, was not keeping up properly. And I lost $8 million. Of course, you know what I did. You make an adjustment, you get somebody else.
Right.
You can't return, but $8,000 is not going to keep your job in my suit. So, and you got to be able to take that loss, take that hit.
That's right.
You take the good with the bad. So you got to run a tight ship when you're dealing with REO properties. You see?
Okay. So, okay, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, just getting into it, you got to factor all these things in.
You have to, and this it's crazy. As soon as this I guess COVID hit last year, I would say around April, they started talking about the market. I actually had a broker who never done REO reach out to me. Hey, what can I prepare for? And after I had that conversation with her, and again, I'm not discouraging at all, right? What's for me is for me. Right. When I got finished with that conversation, she said, well, I'll just think about it. He wasn't ready for that. No. Everything you were saying, because you're a project manager, so much you have to take on. And be a stress buster, if you're not prepared for it, So you may not get your money back on certain things, So
that's right.
They definitely agree with you 100% on that.
Hey guys, thank you for watching our show. We're going to interrupt you real quickly. We are in the business of referrals. If you know someone looking to buy or sell, residential or commercial, here in the North Carolina area, refer us. We really appreciate that.
Okay, so now let's segue. You are in Detroit metro area, and you mentioned Dallas metro as well as Houston, all the way down to Texas, right?
That's right.
Do we have offices, brokers in place to deal with clients in them areas?
Yes.
So I see that you specialize in commercial as well.
Yes.
Okay, commercial as well. Give me a commercial story. Give me a commercial story where because a lot of times a traditional agent think, I got my license, I can do commercial. Give me a commercial story that was just a little bit rocky. And again, not for discouragement, but again, we keep it real on our show. That I want you to put out there, share. It made you just say, okay, damn, this is nothing like a regular sale. This is it's a little bit rocky. Give us one of them stories.
Well, I gotta say I've been fortunate where I really haven't had a rocky.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because I had a great mentor
when
I started in commercial.
Okay.
So when I decided to go into and this was back when I first got my license, my cousin was my mentor. May he rest in heaven. He was pretty heavy in the commercial construction industry here in the Detroit area.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would go to his office. He gave me a desk near his desk so I can hear his conversations and talk to him whenever I want. We were that close. And one day I asked him, I say, how long you had your real estate license? And he said, what are you talking about? I say, you don't have a real estate license? He say, no, you don't need a real estate license to do commercial. You don't. Mm-hmm. You don't need a real estate license to do commercial that I know of in any state. Mm-hmm. And the reason why is because they assume that people that are investing or buying commercial are savvy enough to hire a lawyer and a good agent to represent them. Mm-hmm. I say lawyer again. Mm-hmm. I have never done a commercial deal without a lawyer involved. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. And the reason why is because you don't need a license. See, we only need real estate license to protect the consumer who don't know. And most of the time, those are regular people that's buying homes and selling homes. Mm-hmm. They don't indulge in commercial. But, the government obviously, they assume that you're going to be savvy enough to, hey, I need a lawyer to do this, and I need an agent to represent me, and you come together with these people. And so that's why whenever somebody come to me to purchase a commercial real estate, I find out what they need, where they need it, and then I ask them, do you have a lawyer that can represent you? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because I call commercial world a big old shark tank. Mm. Gotcha. Because you got some sharks out there because they don't need a license. Mm-hmm. You'll deal with some listing agents with commercial, mm-hmm. and they're actually trying to steal your client mm-hmm. from you. Mm-hmm. And if your client is not loyal to you, you can lose that client. Mm-hmm. Unlike in residential, you have an agency, agreement or, a buyer agent agreement of some sort, a contract mm-hmm. with that buyer. And also, the licensing board protects you when you have procured a sale. Mm-hmm. Well, in commercial, you're not so protected. Mm-hmm. So anybody getting into commercial, you're going to need a lawyer to work with. because your client may not have one, someone you can trust.
Mm.
And you're going to need to know how to navigate in that arena.
Gotcha.
It's totally different.
Totally different. And just to piggyback on what you're saying is, I've sold some commercial deals, probably nowhere near as many as you sold. It's like the building we're in now, and I brokered that. I've always said that it ain't just, like you said, straight to the point, because the attorney can actually, I would suggest the attorney prepare the contract, right? Because there's so many nuances and changes. It's not just so straight to the point, because you'll miss something and it can cause you a lawsuit. Right?
That's right.
Just to piggyback off that.
Mm-hmm.
Let me segue into since we're talking about brokers, it's getting traditional broker, residential broker doing commercial real estate. What would you say to a fresh broker that's getting into the business? Said, I want to get in the business. I want to be a residential broker. What kind of insight would you give them, or something that nobody gave you when you first started? Now you got all this wealth of experience.
I was trained by a pretty good broker, so I was able to. I like to learn and pay attention, because I don't think you know everything. I think you should always try to learn something new, because you can't possibly know everything. A new broker, opening a brokerage. You say going into commercial, or just simply opening?
No, just opening a brokerage. New broker.
Know what it entails. Put a business plan together. Even if you don't need a business plan to purchase a loan, put a business plan for yourself to follow. And have a 5-year plan within that business plan, so you know where you're going. And every 5 years, you add another year to it to kind of control your destiny. So, and understand what it means to, if you're going to bring other agents in up under you, understand what it means to be over those agents, what your responsibility is, what your liability is. You know what I mean?
Got you. Okay.
What kind of overhead you're going to be dealing with.
Great insight there, because
and I'm sorry, Mike, but you're going to have to find your niche. It's like any regular agent would need to do. The broker needs to have a niche as well, right? So, am I going to do residential, or am I going to do commercial, or both? Am I going to recruit a lot of agents? What is your niche? Will I use a brand name like, those? I'm not going to say their names, but something like a well-known brand name that does a lot of, because you're going to pay for that in your overhead.
Correct.
See? So you need a business plan.
I love that. And I think, I think what happens is some states, particularly I'm going to say here, it's very easy to kind of start your own brokerage. And I think it's like, hey, I've been doing this for about a year. Let me go through a couple more steps. Let me open up my brokerage. Let me bring on agents. But it's a lot on the back end that you did not take advantage of, or did not know. So now your tires are spinning in the mud and you're spending money. And you get people leave you because you don't. They be like, well, we thought you had your. They say we thought you had your shit together.
Hey man, when I told you I woke up that morning and I had 32 agents, I had to go out and hire a manager for my brokerage to train these agents. That cost me part of my commission.
Wow.
To have someone training these agents, because I couldn't do it. I was doing other things.
Correct.
So I had to figure it out and make it work. And you can't do everything by yourself.
You cannot. You're absolutely right about that. And we always say you go to a certain point by yourself, but you go far with a team. I mean that.
Yeah, you go real far with a team. And if I can instill one most important thing that I think will bring you great success is always hire someone that's better than you.
That's it.
Because if you're the smartest person at the table, you're done. You're not gonna grow. You're done.
That's true. That's true. I mean, that is so true. You're like similar to what you're saying. You hire people who will highlight your weaknesses because they got the strengths, which is a beautiful thing. All right, brother. So now we're starting to wind down because I know you're a busy guy. I've always said, because I've always asked every guest to give me 2 golden nuggets. Hit me with 2 golden nuggets, whether that be a scripture, a quote, a book, a movie, anything that can be inspirational What you got?
Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Great one.
That's my man.
Great one.
That's my man. Right,
let me add this right here too, y'all. You know how you can know people that you be like, damn, he know him too. This brother right here, if you go to his Facebook page, he got pictures of Clinton, NBA players. Man, your Rolodex is strong, brother. Or that call log on that phone. You know everybody.
Hey,
so I gotta salute him on that.
I like networking. Networking is very important as well. So
networking,
networking is probably one of the most important things you want to do in being a broker or agent, because if you don't network yourself, you ain't selling yourself, and you're not meeting new people. You know, that's how I met you.
That's right. That's right.
You know, you network. You find out what does Mike know that I don't know? Mike probably got 2 asset management companies he working with that I can get on with and get some business, and I might have 2 or 3 that he can get on with. You network, you become good friends, and you share information, and you grow within that networking arena.
You grow.
And so that's when you see me taking these pictures with professional basketball players, football players, and mayors, and all that kind of stuff on my Facebook page. It's like, that's all about networking and building relationships. You know what I mean? And so this monster has slowed me up.
Oh man, everybody, tell me about it.
You notice I ain't taken a picture with nobody in a long time.
That's right. That's right, man. But you know, I've always looked at it, and I'm not predicting this, but I've always looked at it like, you know, you cut yourself, or whatever it is, you get a wound. We got the gash, now we need to heal, and that's going to take some time. All right, so hopefully we'll be able to bounce back. All right, Darren. So we're gonna wrap this up. And first thing I want to just give definitely salute to Darren Johnson with Johnson Premier Realty. And again, his brother is in the Detroit, Dallas, and Houston metro areas. And again, his services and as well as his team is always available. We'll have all that in the description.